Welcome to Modern Homestead, Alaska. I'm Jessica, and whether it rains or shines, we are going to plant out this entire garden in one episode, one weekend, including the greenhouses. Won't you join us for 2,500 square feet from start to finish? Let's get into it right now. It's going to take a while. What we have started out right now is we are going to be working on this garden. It's a 40 foot by 40 foot. It's probably increased beyond that. But anywho, we'll just call it a 40 foot by 40 foot garden. We already have garlic planted last fall, and now what we're going to do is turn everything except for the raspberry row back there into one big garden bed. Super windy. Caleb's gonna help me move these plants to the greenhouse. So these are going to get planted with the plants in the greenhouse to try and help with the bugs. We've gone back and forth on this greenhouse 100 times. So it's going to be the overflow, the secondary. This one will be the first one because everything grew great in it last year. And once this is filled, but most of what you see actually goes out into the garden. In the garden you saw in the very beginning, Aaron tilled this up for me. We have onions and all sorts of stuff ready to go in the garden, but we have a few more plants to pull out here. We're gonna just leave them in the greenhouses. The greenhouses are so warm. We need all the sunshine and whatnot that we can get. And I think I'm gonna water everything this afternoon, but right now, my whole family's here. Aaron's barbecuing. Cody is training the little bird dogs to retrieve in the water. So she's tossing into the water and getting the dogs to retrieve. Our son Wyatt's here. Caleb and Destiny are helping me with the plants. So the whole family is just in the mix, enjoying this incredibly beautiful Sunday. Sometimes I love the absolute peace and quiet in the lake. And then other times I just love hearing the family mucking about, if you will. But a few more. Look at those wet springers. Hold on. Okay. Did he get it? Did you get it, Dookie? Swimming. Are you a good swimmer?
Nope. Neither is Blue.
But they try real hard?
Brody's the only one that knows how to swim with something in his mouth and keep his paws underwater. Blue is like in his mouth like.
Oh, hi Bert. Are you a good retriever?
And Duke.
You're the only non-bird dog.
And Duke goes out there and tries to get a ride back from Bert.
At first, these two scared me, Blue and Bert, because they had the toy together.
Oh.
And they're drowning each other.
I guess I'm gonna water now. Aaron went ahead and dragged the hose all the way out here for me and turned it on. So we'll throw some water on these guys. Susitna Organic, so that is a straight load of compost, not garden soil. So the garden soil is going to be topsoil along with compost and some other things in it. That's about $100 a yard. Straight compost, which is the topping we're going to be working on, is about $125 a yard. I had to go to Palmer to get that, but we're going to be able to start topping off the bags and everything. See what survived. What? Everything pretty much. When I watered last night, it was the first time any of this had gotten overhead water. It knocks them over, but they're fine. I even watered these. They went to laying down. Those will get planted outside. Those are ground cherries. Tomatoes look poorly, but they looked poorly coming out here. Everything's popping back up. It is not quite plant out time. We're still looking at least another week before Alaska's ready. We're gonna start a little bit early though, and I think for sure, because I have that compost, we're gonna start potting up the peppers, the tomatoes, and the tomatillos and getting them going in the greenhouse here. We're gonna start our grow bags right here with just some straight compost. Tomatoes, peppers, tomatillos, all of them are really, really heavy feeders. We have some garden soil from last year in the grow bags. My plan is to kind of do half last year's soil and half new compost in order to kind of top everything off, get some fresh nutrients in there, and see if that works. So I've got my old trusty wagon as well as a shovel. We'll get started. So I'm just gonna mix in the wheelbarrow or my wagon, last year's garden bags of soil. I'm gonna just refill the bag. I don't have too many roots or anything like that going on, and anything big like that I would dump, of course. So I'm gonna fill the bag. Whoops. Try. We're gonna take a tomato plant and I'm gonna show you how far we bury it. So we're gonna dig out the center. We'll fill it back in. I wanna stick that in to where only the top of the tomato is hanging out. Pull this, the bottom off, and I'm gonna leave at least 2 because I need this guy to be absorbing some sunlight to regrow kind of the top. Got maybe a little too cold out here in the greenhouse, but that's okay. This will come back, and then everywhere along the stem that you have the little hairs, they will become roots. So we want to plant these super, super deep. So way down there, and then grab this soil and we're gonna fill it in around this tomato. I ended up with 13 little tomato plants from Mid-Valley. So I picked those up at the greenhouse because mine, they look like crud and I haven't gotten a good production of tomatoes growing them from seed. So I wanted to guarantee, because the very first year that I gardened, I got all my tomato plants at Mid-Valley Greenhouse. I only grabbed a couple that year. This year I grabbed 12, but one of them had 2 tomatoes. So I split them, super duper buried them. They don't need any support right now. Let's take a look. So all these little friends are gonna be just fine. This one, I liked to keep the top 2, okay? So that we're getting plenty of sun. That'll feed the plant. Well, this one, the one up top here, it got a little damage from the cold, but this plant will absorb plenty of sun from that one, so I left that. So a couple of little makeshifts here or there. Any of them that there's an issue with, maybe they're set down a little bit and I can bring in some topping when I can pull some of the bottom leaves off of them. And then I'm having to figure out as I'm adding soil. Topper, what do I do with some of this old soil? It's beautiful, beautiful composted garden soil. See how it's full of roots, but the roots aren't bound up. They'll break down. They become food for the soil. So I think those are going to end up in the garden. I'll just throw them in the garden when we go to do the garden, because I worked until about 7 o'clock last night and I watered these tomatoes in really good, moved them up top here, and I'm gonna start working on the tomatillos, which are actually in the other greenhouse. So what I'm gonna do is, I have so many tomatillos that worked out, and they don't get so big that they fill up the 5-gallon buckets. And so I'm going to do probably 3 just together in each of the 5-gallon pot. We do want to bury them to where we get a deep root system, but where those other nodules will become roots. So we do want to bury them a good depth, and then it's going to give them some strength. So 1, 2, and let me grab this third one out. So he has got so many more of the little bumps all the way down him, and he's also like a little bit crooked. So now that you see those in there together, I will start adding some soil in. All right, so there we go. We'll just see if that does better this year than doing them as individuals last year. It is getting real warm in here. I got all the tomatillos planted out. Whew! Pat myself on the back. I already did myself a big favor. Every one of them is already labeled. Look at my peppers. I grew these from seed. I am so proud. I did so much less peppers. The peppers are going into 3-gallon bags, and they should do fantastic. They need some food. They need some fertilizer this week for sure. But we're going to get them up planted. We'll bury them a little bit deep. A pepper, unlike a tomato or anything else, it's not going to do too terribly much additional. Like if you pulled all these leaves off and buried it super deep, it's not going to grow additional roots out of the stem, and you kind of run some risks of actually what happening is some rotting going on. So we are going to bury them a little bit deep so that we have some stability, like right in there, but not overly deep. Same thing. So let's start with that right there. I've never, so this is a 2-gallon-ish, right in that world. Actually, unlike the tomatoes, let's just go ahead. All right, so we'll top it, give it a little tamp, and then I'll just dig a hole. Depending on the height of the pepper, I am gonna pop some off. I already raked out the greenhouse once today. Get that nice and down. And then settle it in with the soil. We're gonna get everything watered in. And that should do. There's 21 per thing, so I have 2 things. So I have about 42 pepper plants. We have all of the peppers planted out. How fantastic is that? We are trying to avoid bugs this year. So we put a little flower in each and every one of them. We started all of the flowers early, and all I would do is right here out of that one, I would just grab off a couple of them, shove them into each and every one of the pots. It'll be fantastic when the pepper plants are huge and then they're surrounded by flowers. Like, it is going to be just really, really beautiful in the greenhouse. So the first thing that I'm gonna get started with, and Aaron's gonna come out and run the tiller just one more time. We got everything tilled up and under the first time. I've gone through, I'm gonna go and tackle any weeds that I can find, even grass, anything that is growing that shouldn't be, aside from the garlic, I'm gonna pull out. And then I'm just going to fertilize the whole thing. It's not truly fertilizer, so they are amendments that we're putting in. So these are just organic materials. So we have the fish bone meal that we got, picked up the 5 gallons of that. I'm gonna put the whole thing out there. I'm gonna do 1 box of this 444 Garden All Natural. This one is the fertilizer. This one is BioLive. So this is microbes, and we want to add a ton of microbes to the garden. And the last thing is I just have some ash from our fireplace. I'm going to amend the whole soil, and then Aaron's going to come along and just work all of it in together. And then if something as we go along needs additional fertilizers throughout the season, we can do that. But this is a good starting ground. I got the 5 gallons of compost tea, which is not actually compost, it's a microbe tea. So they're living microbes. I'm going to add some molasses to the water, and then probably a couple of other things that are water soluble as a top dressing, and we'll water that into the garden once everything is planted out, and so that we're activating the microbes and getting everything woke up inside of the soil. It has been resting throughout the winter, but we keep everything tilled into the soil, which causes it to always have food. And because we don't do any synthetic fertilizers, nothing has been killed throughout the garden. And then we've continued to amend it with compost, and we're going to be using compost again today. So first up, you're going to see me, I'm going to run and make sure there's no weeds, and then we're going to start dressing out all of the soil and then turn all of it in at one time. It's going to make my life a whole lot easier, I think, in the long run. Oh my goodness, Aaron has helped huge. Okay, so this is this year's layout. We did go ahead, this is gonna be a permanent walkway, we're pretty certain. But because we only use cardboard and wood chips, at any point in time, if we want the walkways to be different, we can absolutely change them. And then this walkway, when you come in the gate, is permanent. This is gonna be onions and garlic. Then what we have here is a 24-inch walkway, a 6-foot row, 24-inch walkway, 6-foot row, 24-inch walkway, 6-foot row, 24-inch walkway. What did we say this one is, 4 foot? It's just whatever it ended up being. In order to give a 24-inch walkway from the raspberries to this row. This way, same thing, but we have 2 beds here. So one along this side of the fence Aaron cleared this really well for me. So this will be like kind of an entrance and you can head a direction. We wanted to almost center this, but it works better kind of the way it is. But it's nice to come in that gate from the greenhouse and you can just head any direction you want. And then the walkway finishes here and heads back to the permanent wood chip. So the bed goes all the way to this pot. So that is huge. I thought someone asked me this week, did you shrink the size of your garden when it was all tilled up and it was flat? And because it doesn't look like that much. So what we do that you saw is we go through, we just remove the excess dirt from the pathways, and it's not too much. Like, it depends on where you're at in the garden, but this gets raked into, we'll flatten out the beds, and then it makes it to where like you can see there's a huge amount of soil underneath there. So whatever we put on here has to be something that will compost and become part of the garden. And that's why we don't use like landscape fabric or anything like that. So the walkways will get raked out. Aaron just shoveled them to start out with, then they'll rake, and then you can see these beds end up super tall. Like this one's pretty low. We can shovel pretty good because I know the deepest soil is actually right in this area. So that's where we're at right now. And then I use these rebar, we'll put caps on them so you don't, it's so you don't impale yourself, but also it stops the hose from popping up. So what we'll do is we'll pull the hose in that side and I can water two sides at once, and then it keeps the hose from jumping into the beds and it protects our little seedlings and such. So it's looking good so far. We're gonna take a little break. It's really, really warm, and then get to raking and leveling out the beds because we're going to do a compost topper on every one of them. So one day, this is the first time Aaron's actually helped me with the beds. He's always helped me with the dirt and a bunch of other stuff, but I like slowly build all of it. And I told him the layout I wanted, and he just worked his way ahead of me. Whew! Okay, so we got all of the compost topped on every one of the rows, and you can see, so the compost is like darker than the regular dirt. And then they're deep. We're talking like 6, 8 at the ends of them. Some of them are like 14 inches tall. So that's a ton of soil for everything to grow in. The tallest bed is back there, and that will be potatoes this year. And so I pulled all the plants out. I went ahead and watered everything. It's easier to separate them and plant them tomorrow if I watered them the night before. I did go ahead and water. I put all the little sweet peas in. I know that sweet peas are poisonous. I'm not going to be eating the peas that grow on these two trellises. They're going to be the sweet peas. So the garlic, I went ahead and watered that in. We did the compost topping on that. And then this year, I'm so excited about what we're gonna walk on in the centers, which hopefully I won't be fighting. I'm pretty good at weeding, but you never know what the year is gonna hold. So less weeds, the better. But I'm pretty excited. So it looks fantastic. For one day of labor, this is insane. I couldn't be more grateful for the help because I'm telling you, we're literally gonna have this planted out. Well, fingers crossed. We're planning on having it planted out tomorrow. So that's pretty exciting to get all of it done. And then I got a couple of things left to do in the greenhouses. We'll get to all of it in this video. So let's just roll along. My chickens are so loud.
morning. I love the mornings. I love the mornings. The lake is like glass. Barely a breeze. Well, look at the flag. Barely a breeze. Cow mooing and chickens clucking. And look at it, all got strung out when I was dragging the hose. We have a mess. By the end of today, the goal is to have the whole garden planted. It amazes me how much the prep work takes. So we left off last night right here. Do you know that noise the chickens are making? It has to do with like laying. Like they're ready to lay eggs and they argue about the boxes and they're just noisy. Anywho, I'm gonna go through, kind of think through the most important things. We grow lots of stuff for fun and we do a ton of preserving at the end of the season. So what can we preserve the most of and what will be the most fun? But what do I know for fact is going where? I know the potatoes are going here. So we'll start at the opposite end this year. And then I also know or believe the ground cherries are gonna go there in that bed. So I think let's do that. Let's start with the potatoes. Then we'll move on. You know, I'm gonna pop out in the ground cherries because they're fun. I'm just excited to grow them for the first time. Then onions and potatoes because those are two of the most important. I know where a bunch of the onions are going, but maybe I'll fill in the ends of the rows with the scallions. I have 2 whole trays of those. Yeah, we have so much to get in. And then I brought out all the seed buckets, so it's time to just get started. Look at that. We got all the beautiful ground cherries in. Any that are left over, I'll just give away. There's a few there. Now this other side of the garden, I'm gonna do 3 things in here. Along the fence, this is not a permanent fence because we've never figured out what we're doing with the greenhouses and such. But along the fence, we're gonna do peas that are like snap peas, sugar snap peas, not shelling peas. So I'm gonna do peas along. They should grow up and over. Then the artichokes, and then a companion to artichokes can be onions. And so we will mix the onions in. And what's great is the onions grow really low and the artichokes come up. And so it's a good way to get a lot of use out of one bed. So let's start with the peas in the back. Okay, I'm gonna start with the sugar daddy at the end and then we'll move on. It's starting to rain quite a bit, but I hung, we're wet. I hung through. I got the artichokes in, I got the peas in. We just need to do some onions there next, but there's plenty of work to do inside the greenhouses. We're gonna go in there until it lightens up. It looks everywhere I look like the skies look like they're going to open, so we'll head into the greenhouse for a bit. I think what I want to do is this wall. This is where I strung up tomatoes last year, and then I did tomatillos down the center. I think I would just want to scoot everything to the other side because I can reach here and not have to get the ladder. And then we'll do the center and I'll go in and get a ladder. But I think we're gonna do tomatillos along the side, tomatoes down the center. That's the goal. So. I have one tomatillo left, and I'm just going to show you exactly what I did. It takes me a minute to figure it out, so I didn't show you on the first one. And then they're all stringed along, just lovely, holding up to this bar. There's not going to be that much weight on there, so we're going to be fine. And then I'm clipping off this one right now. Let me get you in here to show you what I'm doing. Okay, so I run the string up and around, and then I twist it so that I have some strength to it. And this tomatillo, like this one moving around, it's broken. It might survive, it might not, I don't know. So we're gonna clip that. But I got these little clips off Amazon, and then the string is biodegradable. And in fact, when I used it on the fence last year, I can just go and pull whatever's left of it off. But these clips have like little spikes right there in the center, and those spikes hold on to the string. So when you clip them on, you can pull the plant up, and then the tomatillo itself will not actually get as big around. A tomato vine though can get bigger around than that clip, but the tomatillo won't. And so I clip each one of them to this string, and then I put the little bamboo poles in the center of the pots in order to just kind of give it some stability. So we have the string and the bamboo, and then it should kind of help hold everything up. So, okay, the potato roll, super deep, and no judgment, right? My channel is always the judgment-free zone. Cause, girl, I was doing Whole30, Aaron was doing carnivore, and we didn't eat the potatoes. So they sprouted a little. I'm gonna use the least sprouted ones, but I have an aggressive amount of sprouted potatoes that are ready to get planted. So I think I'm gonna do 3 rows in here. And then whatever's left, I'll call my little neighbors. Their dad's an excavator, and he digs them a little dirt hill. And they plant them, and they got so many potatoes last year. So none of them go to waste. My neighbors harvested a ton off of whatever was left over. So I think 3 rows. I do give the potatoes a little extra fertilizer because they're a heavy, heavy feeder. And then I have a plan with some fence post to try and like corral them where they grow up without like laying over. That's always the problem. So let's do our center. Aaron's digging through and finding the shortest sprouts that we can, because this is actually going to leaf. That isn't the root. The root is attached to it, but anyway, that goes up. You can see on this one, it's starting to leaf out. So I want the shortest ones possible. So he's digging through and helping me find them. Yeah. Thanks, buddy. What's up, Dub? Look at what Aaron helped me do. So we try to kind of group them together. Purples and pinks. Then we have some, these are like a Yukon Gold. They're throughout. Aaron found me lots of those. I like those light pink ones too. Any of the purple ones I found all the way to the end. Now we're gonna go through and just cover them up. These are not a potato. that you continue to stack on top of. There's two kinds of potatoes. One of them, you could plant it really, really low and then super bury it, and all the way up the stem, it grows potatoes. These potatoes just grow out. They don't grow up like that. So I don't need to super hill these or continue to hill them. I thought that the first couple of years, things we've learned as we have been gardening a couple of years now, we learn a little bit every year. That is one of the things we learn. So the soil here though, you can't tell on camera, and I know you can't because I've filmed out here before. The soil under this bed, not only is this bed about 4 inches taller than the rest of them, the soil under it is several inches deeper than the rest of the garden. So the potatoes are in a really good spot where they can kind of spread out, spread their wings, and grow us some potatoes. And we don't need as many as we have been growing, obviously, which is why we have so many sprouted potatoes. So time to just cover them over and call it good. Three beds down. The potatoes look awesome. They're just in, and it's starting to rain again. So let's do some cute cow intermission. This cow. All I heard was you laughing from inside the greenhouse. Peach! She wants her snacks. You want your treats? She's like, give it here.
Long old tongue. Right here.
They're like, what is it?
Get out of here.
Oh, we love you, Peachy girl.
That's enough.
What did she just do?
She got the whole bag wet.
Oh my gosh. Oh, if you don't get it before she does, she will stick her head out and take that bag with her. Hi, honey. Hi, baby girl. Hi, beautiful. Oh, honey. This is dumping again. It says it'll be done in the next hour or so, and then we'll let the garden dry for a few minutes before we try and plant out. Hey, free water. That's all I'm thinking. So I got everything planted out. I have 6 peppers that are underneath there hiding, and then I forgot that I bought one more tomato. Why? Why did I buy one more tomato? Please, someone tell me. Whew. Okay, now we're gonna string up the tomatoes, and I think we're actually gonna be done with the greenhouse for the most part today. It's official. The greenhouse is done. Let's go in and have a look, friends. Right off, tomatoes down the center. There's 40 of them. Aaron asked, why the slant? The slant is because there's the center bar. This row is center, and because of the 2 benches in here, I had to scoot it this way in order to have walking paths on both sides. Then tomatillos all the way down this side. There's at least 3 per pot, so that should take up this entire thing, grow nice and tall and beautiful. The tomatoes in this 3rd row here are all supposed to be able to go outside, and we will take them out, but I'm waiting till every day is at least in the 60s, if not the 70s. We had a 60-degree day yesterday, but today we're all wearing sweatshirts and in the pouring rain. So it's not quite time to get those outside. Then we have the peppers that we did. And the only thing I added was I went to the greenhouse and I grabbed 6 jalapenos. So there's 3 on this end and 3 on that end. And then this little space here between the 2 benches, I just store stuff because it'll get wet from the bottom, but if it's in crates or buckets, it kind of stays dry and really helps me to not drag everything in and out of the house. However, I may move the storage stuff to the other greenhouse because we're not using that this year. We'll see how this does. If it ends up overcrowded, whatever, I can move plants there. But because of all the issues last year, I'm not starting out there. But we are starting out here with a finished greenhouse before plant out weekend is even done. It's finally stopped raining for a little bit. I think we can head back outside, work on the garden, but the greenhouse is just absolutely fantastic. Oh, I'm excited. I'm so excited for this. First bed, the ground cherries, how gorgeous. Potatoes are done. I went ahead and tucked a little basil in the ends of those rows. It's a basil Wardsov. I don't even know if we have them here, but potato bugs of some sort. So threw some basil on there. I'm gonna have to add onions to every single bed next year when I go to order onions. If y'all can just say, don't. Girl, just stop while you're ahead. Anywho, we got all of our vining things here. At the end, we have some Connecticut field pumpkins. I saved some for the neighbor girls. And then we have the pie pumpkins. And then some things that don't normally grow up here very good. So I kind of squished them in hopes that just a couple survive. That's watermelon, honeydew, and cantaloupe. Now, they sprouted well. Not super well in comparison. And then we super struggled again. We did get enough cucumbers. So we got 1, 2, plus a couple of stragglers on the cucumbers that actually sprouted and are growing. Guess what I forgot to plant? Some squash, some zucchini. So I will see if I can pick up a 4, 6, 8, something like that at the greenhouse. This is going to be the brassicas row tomorrow. And then this one is not super planned out, but remember, we have seeds. We have like carrots and lettuce and salad and spinach and those sort of things. And so that's probably what's going to happen here. And then brassicas there. And I started filling in and it is so muddy, so muddy. Okay, so looking down, we fertilized, specifically this fertilizer is for onions and garlic. So, and I order it from the onion people that I get them, the onions. So anyway, put a little fertilizer on there. We have all the little garlics popping up. We did the top dressing because some of them were a little too high. That was the chickens last year. And then I started filling in right here all of the scallions because onions and garlic make good friends. And so I just need to fill in a little. We have 3 kinds of onions here. 1, 2, and 3. And then down here so far we have the artichokes, and I put the Walla Walla onions in between because those will get real big and real easy to see. Artichokes, peas along the back. All of these make good friends. And then right along the front here are some shallots. It is not supposed to rain again until about noon tomorrow. That, if I get up early, it's 8:30 at night now. I don't know if I mentioned that already. get the brassicas and the onions in, get the celery and the beets, and then the seeds, and get going on all the onions. If we can get that done, this garden will be planted out. And today is Monday, and I'm like, there is like 2.5 rows left. The greenhouse is complete. We've nearly done it, and I'm eking along at this point. I feel everything. I feel every squat, every stand up, every climb up the ladder and back down the ladder, every shovel, every rake. I feel all of it this morning. Oh my goodness, one of the things I loved about it was our second gardening year, the first after I went to school, after we had finally been here for a year, and I did the square foot gardening method, and I can enter some pictures at the video showing all the different layouts of the garden that we've done. And one of the things was that it was creative, and you can be creative in the garden, and everything doesn't have to be in little rows. If you love the little rows and the tidiness and the neatness of it, that may be your style. You may love something creative, but I thought, okay, let's do the celery in this zigzag pattern, and then I have these little quadrants here of the garden where I could like maybe do spinach in one of them, maybe do beets in one of them, maybe do, just looking at what we have, like radishes, lettuce, spinach, you name it, like throughout each. And then you kind of have the celery as the border. Does that look cool? Okay, I just laid it all out, and now I'm gonna plant them all in. I think that's gonna be so fun. It's gonna be perfect. I went through the seeds. I have a pile of, I would like to plant these someplace, and then a pile of absolutely have to. So in this first little section here will be lettuces. Then we'll do kale, radish over there, onion, carrots. Actually, I'm gonna swap, no I'm not. Carrots, spinach, onion, arugula. I also only have this one pack of lettuce mix. So we'll get it open. I'll just kind of rough it into the soil. It just gets planted at the top. Okay. Oh, I don't know if the camera will pick it up, but it's all different kinds of lettuce. So, one pack of kale. I love kale salads. Kale gets really big, so it does need a bit more space. We have 2 kinds of radishes. So what I think I'm gonna do is draw a line down the center, 1 radish on one side. Jeez, these gnats killing me. We have the early scarlet globe and then the crimson giant. So I picked these up locally, these carrots. I've never grown this brand. I just like colorful ones, and so I'm just giving a little space in the garden to them. I forgot I needed to add beets to this bed, so we're gonna do beets and the arugula. Actually, let's move those down there. I have 2 kinds of spinach, the Bloomsdale long standing and the Renegade. So I actually made it through this patch of onions all the way to the peak here. I think that's going to be so cute, and we'll come out and we'll take about half of them out in just a couple of weeks. And we got everything planted except for this one here And you can see it rained so much, almost all the fertilizer is gone. It's just soaked into the ground. Nice, light drizzle that never ended. And I was gonna show you, my garden actually gets a lot of shade. Even though we get huge amounts of sun, the sun circles overhead. It's really strange, like this, because we're so far north that the sun is going over the top of the earth like this, kind of at the angle that it does, all that. So it just kind of circles and we get tons and tons of daylight. But by keeping the trees and the forest, even these trees offer a great deal of evening shade in that's a thing. We need shade in the evening because we might get moonburnt. Anybody know what movie that's from? Anyway, we do get to shade it throughout the day. So in the early morning, all of this is shaded here. Not everything is just getting blasted with sunshine 24 hours a day, but the whole garden gets tons and tons of daylight. So I'm learning as we go that where you put certain things may have a great impact, but it's going to be several years of learning and growing before we truly know, hey, that's the perfect spot for that fruit or vegetable, and this is the perfect spot for a companion or something like that. So here we go. Now we're officially planting. Everything inside of me adores it. I think it is so cute, so creative, just adds some beauty and whimsy to the garden. I tucked some things in. I think I'm gonna take a break and go have some lunch and then work on this last bed today. Let's see. I went ahead and put a little basil there where we ran out of beets. So beets, carrots, arugula, and then onions, and then the onions. So these scallion type onions, oh my gosh, we'll start harvesting on those here really, really shortly. And then we have our spinach down here, and I put a little oregano, a little oregano plant down here. I have an oregano and a thyme, and I went with the basil there. I may do the thyme down in that corner. How fun is that? Because that's almost like center. Well, it's been a couple of days, and as luck would have it, it has rained every single day until today, and I have not had to water this garden, not once. So we did get everything watered in that very beginning, and then it has rained every single day. I thought I would give you a final overview and a tour. We did wood shavings, the same kind that we use in our chicken coop and for some other projects, and my thoughts are that I understand it robs nitrogen from the soil, and then it breaks down and it gives the nitrogen back. Because it's just in the walkways, it should break down over this garden season, and because it has no seeds. When I use straw that is certified weed-free, it is weed-free, it is not seed-free, and therefore it constantly grows grass in the garden. So I'm hoping that this will work in keeping the weeds down, and it has made it to where every day as it rains, I can walk along these paths with no problem. I'm not all muddy, and we're not squishing and tearing everything up. And so I think it turned out really, really fantastic. The only issue I have so far is never do 6-foot wide rows again. My height, I don't know if that's the problem or what it is, but it's just so awkward to get to the center without putting weight on the soil. And so I won't do that again, but it is gonna be just fine for this year. And the garden is in, it is finished, and it is surviving. We've had super cold weather as far as gardens go, like in the 50s and 40s every single day since it got planted out. And other than watermelon, cantaloupe, honeydew, those sort of things, they say you can't grow up here anyway. Therefore, we went ahead and put our effort into it. They may not make it. That's fine if they don't. All of the pumpkins and things around it are doing fine, and they will end up taking over that space that's right here. We are riding the struggle bus in this area, and that's all right. So to close out, I think I'll just throw it to some drone footage and you can see how the garden layout turned out. I think it is a beautiful year. With that, thank you for joining us today. I hope that you choose to stick around the channel by hitting that subscribe button and supporting us that way. I truly appreciate each and every one of you showing up time and time again. I do hope that you have a beautiful week. I hope that you are blessed, and I hope you have a reason to be grateful and thankful in your own life. And with that, I'm thankful for you, I'm grateful for you, and I hope to see you in the next video. Bye for now.